We're dealing with an unusual subject. It's called spiritual distance. My title was Understanding Spiritual Distance, and it took me a while to gain understanding with this, and I'm just going to run. It's not heavy, it's not designed to be profound or complete or anything. It's just an insight that has helped me relate to people. What I found was that distance is what keeps me from knowing God, knowing people, even from knowing my wife, knowing my own children. There's a distance that comes. I come home from work, and I'm all excited, and I enter the house, and I say, "Hi, hon, I'm home." And there's distance. The house is filled with absence of sound. There's distance. And I thought, oh my goodness, what in the world has gone on? And then I remember that weekend I promised to fix the screen door. I did not fix the screen door. My wife is offended, and the moment offense comes, distance happens. Now, distance, you must understand how distance works, or you really can mess it up, because if distance is understood, then you got some hope of working with that distance immediately, because it's even more than fixing the screen door. It's called reconciliation. It's how do I eliminate the distance between me and my wife that I caused, and the distance is there. Now, please understand, sometimes this is just minimal distance. Sometimes the distance is immeasurable, east from the west distance. You can't even imagine how far we are from each other. Then there's other times when you're close, but you can't find each other. And so I just want to touch on that, just so you know what you're doing and how to respond. And Christ removed all distance between us and the Father. There is no distance. Now that's on his part. But on our part, we have fears and challenges and mistakes and voices and all kinds of stuff that is always wanting to create distance, and we've got to figure out what that is. The cause of distance is almost always some kind of failure or some kind of suspicion, some kind of suspicion. What's he after? What do they want? How do I know they're real? What is it? So my distance is really, suspicion is a form of distance, of course. Now, eliminating distance is a thing. You can look it up in Scripture. It's called reconciliation, recon. I had very difficult time eliminating the distance between me and my earthly father. Some of you have heard this, but my earthly father and I split in ways. He was deeply injured by my action. I was deeply injured by his. So we had to reconcile. It took us 3 dramatic times to do it. And when the distance closed, we were very, very close. And he was the one who prayed for me that Father would use me. And I know that it had to do with closing that distance between my Father and I. Now God, as a father, forgives. That's never a problem. But there's injury. It's called grief. And Father is grieved over the way I responded. Road rage. Oh my goodness. The embarrassment to God my Father to watch his kid in road rage. And now what is really happening is not complicated. It is a clear understanding that Father uses distance to correct and heal and adjust and cause me to begin to seek. That's what my wife is doing at the sink, is using distance to alert me something's wrong. Something that's true between your children. You'll see my daughter went into her bedroom without talking. My son sits at the table and doesn't speak to anyone. Now, listen, some distance is very, very important, and we need to learn how to manipulate it. I didn't want to deal with sociopaths who distance themselves from everyone, and the next thing you know, they're in intellectual, mental trouble. What I have found was that I was taught that some people are my enemies that are not. And when I met them, I had to deal with my fear and suspicion. And then when I finally would be able to close, I think this is where racism and all kinds of crazies, our generation now is dealing with many offenses. I think, oh my God, you talk about distance. And so here we are now. And what I'm asking, uncomplicated asking, is listen to the word. It's not complicated either. He uses the word one. Oneness. It's in John 17:21 through the end. That they may be one. That you and I might be one. When I married a couple, that they might be one. Judith and I have been married 65, soon be 66 years. And I realize oneness is the absence of distance. Oh, please hear me. Work on this. And when you perceive the distances there, find out what's the cause, what's the reason. Probably me, not you. It's my own fears and suspicion and crazy presuppositions, and I start dealing with that. One last illustration. This woman standing at the cashier with her infant baby. The baby's about 18 months, about 12, 18 months old, and there's a beggar man there, big beard, disheveled, and the baby keeps pushing her mother because she wants to go to the beggar. And the mother is threatened and threatened and threatened, and finally she decides to try it. She gives her baby to this beggar man. Now, I'm not advising this, I'm just telling you what happened. And he picks her up, she starts to smile and giggle, and he talks to her, gives her back, and I teared up. I just teared up, and I thought, Father, you gotta help me. You gotta help us all to be willing by faith, by courage, by risk, by whatever, to identify the distance, small or great. The distance keeps us from being one. The moment we find oneness, the birds start to sing and joy starts to come. And we find out what life is all